Well, a quick response to my friend Joe and to everybody else out there who is a subscriber of his and of my channel, because once again, Joe has hit the nail on the head without extrapolating too much. By this I mean that any reasonable person at this point should be seeing what the hell is going on, and especially in terms of our foreign policy. Now, some of our younger viewers may not be aware of this at all, but it's like it's pretty much like Brzezinski posed it. It's a chess game for those who are intelligent enough to understand it, the ramifications of it, in order to save their own hides, and the bit players that play, the extras in these wars, these ongoing wars. So yeah, naturally, the bigger players, superpowers you might say, will use their soldiers and citizens and armies to fight against each other, pit them against each other, invent various intrigues, just as the United States has done. So it's not a question of whom you support. It becomes a question of corruption overall. So while you hear all the stuff out there about the Taliban and getting out the Taliban and being against the Taliban and oh please, and supporting human rights at the same time, and the drug trade and so on, the other faction, the other faction in Afghanistan is doing exactly the same thing. So there's no difference. The only difference is in our screwed up minds here in America, who is buying into this kind of a dichotomy. These are internal wars which we have no business fighting or resolving. Civilizations, come and go, and ours will probably go quite soon if we keep going on this crazy path. So you can't, it's completely ridiculous to think that you can impose democracy, Western style democracy, on some other country. It's an oxymoron, because it has to come from the people from below to start with. And then when we look at our own state of democracy here, right here, then it becomes even funnier, because there isn't much left of it. So some of us can probably see through the smoke screens. And love the intro, Joe, by the way. I don't know who designed this intro for your new video, but I think it's great. So yeah, the big players will play the big lion and roar, Well, everybody else is getting screwed. And no, we shouldn't be sending our soldiers and our troops to be killed. For what purpose? What exactly is the purpose? To defend our freedoms at home when they've already been lost, largely? And to bring this kind of system abroad, I don't think so. I think all of us need to take a step backwards and reflect on what this 250-year-old nation, plus some years, has done in terms of foreign policy, just like the British Empire around the world. We're not saints. We're not guiltless in atrocities. And calling other nations inferior, as is now once again it's become fashionable to do this now again. It's a regression of thought, basically. I don't have much else to say about this. I mean, you can't make big philosophical statements on YouTube. It's not the forum for this. But I do have to agree with Joe overall, because he's one of the few people who gets it. He understands that there has to be some individual thinking in every one of us without, becoming slaves to the big system. But on the other hand, we all understand that we all have to work together to survive on a global basis. It can't happen without this. And these continuous wars are not conducive to survival for the human species overall, basically. So the cynicism that we put out here is a reminder for folks to not to give in or give up, but to see what we're up against here in the United States and in the West, and also in other countries, because the elites have nothing else to think about other than their own lifestyles, and to keep those lifestyles basically going. And whether it's a monarchy, a totalitarian regime, or whatever, it is all about power. And people power for the people, can only be brought about through some sort of measure of collective coming together. It's not about the dictatorship of the collective, of the masses, of the mob. There's something very much in between. But this is very, very much being ignored now by the elites in power everywhere, basically. So this is what we're fighting against, and it happens throughout periods in history, and our epoch is no different. We have to keep thinking positive without ignoring the negative. Doesn't mean you have to put a gun to your neighbor's head, but it does mean that you need to engage with people, or quit that engagement once they become completely unreasonable. I like that foghorn, whatever it was going off in that intro on your video, Joe. That warning sign, it's really loud. when, I mean, you know, when that thing goes off on the flight deck, you know something's wrong, and we all know something is wrong. So we should all heed that warning, because something is very, very wrong. And we're on a pretty steep descent. And if we don't wake up, at least some of us, it's gonna go up in flames. All of it. Thanks for your video, Joe.